Prof, I've just received a very interesting message on WhatsApp about the Doctoral Academy today. The delegates loved it so much, and they are saying that particularly the last two sessions, the comical one and the one on the research process, that maybe in our session tomorrow, we need just to do a recap of what we discussed today.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yes.
That's very good. Very good.
Yeah.
They were really dynamic students, and their engagement was extraordinary.
Yes.
I mean, they really are very good, and I'm happy we did it, and I congratulate you for organizing it. It wasn't easy to do it, but I hope we continue to do it as often as we can and reach many young people who are really very dynamic. Very good.
Yeah. Because also the idea which they were talking about of having constant engagement, whereby we have a portal, an electronic portal, or even an app that we have people within the academy, so that they're constantly looking together with each other, and which was also opportune, another element of the issues that are unfolding in Zimbabwe. You know, those were also quite useful to include them in the academy, which also brings us to a very interesting twist to say SADC now all of a sudden is very much interested in intervening in the Zimbabwe crisis. All along, during the past crises in Zimbabwe, from 1997, 2000, 2008, 2013, SADC stood aloof. A day after the military intervened in a bloodless intervention to restore order, SADC all of a sudden now is saying that there is crisis. When there was really crisis in Zimbabwe, we did not see SADC. What is the issue? What is going on?
I think the crisis in Zimbabwe has affected all of us.
Yes.
I was even amazed how all of us, even in the academy, we discussed it. Whenever we had the opportunity, the main issue we discuss is the Zimbabwe issue now.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge we have is if the transition from the previous government or the government now to a new government comes through military takeover, coup d'etat, some kind of thing like that, it's going to be tragic, a big tragedy.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, SADC may be now thinking perhaps to avoid this kind of transition taking place, maybe to make it as smooth as possible. If they are thinking like that and they are intervening constructively, then I think we should not be against them. But if the intervention means that the instability in Zimbabwe is going to continue, then it's a big problem. Now, I don't think in Africa we can continue to afford transitions that are really destructive. For example, when the Libyan leader was overthrown, what happened?
Oh, there's chaos right now.
Still the chaos continues.
In Benghazi, in Tripoli.
Everywhere there's chaos. When Thomas Sankara left, more chaos. When Robert Mugabe leaves, if it is done by the interventions of all external forces with their agenda, whatever we say, there'll be chaos. It won't be normal. We don't want chaos in Zimbabwe, and we don't want also Robert Mugabe to be treated, whatever his mistakes, we don't want him, he must be respected.
Yes.
He is an African leader, he spoke for Africa. When those who are against Africa tried to fight him, did sanction against him, he stood. By whatever we say, we have to respect him. for how he stood up. So no matter what, I know he's
Yes.
93 years old, he should not be continuing. I don't think it's, I think he should make the transition very important.
Right.
More than his ruling, the most important thing is to
The
create a
exit.
systemic transition,
Yes.
a better exit. I hope he agrees with this, and then an arrangement is done where proper, very democratic type processes replace the current concern we all have about what's going on.
The interesting part about it is all Zimbabweans, or rather most Zimbabweans, and in particular the military, their position is they want a graceful exit for Mugabe. They want Mugabe to maintain and to retain his dignity on his way out, so that at least he can maintain his legacy from the Liberation War all the way from up until Lancaster, and in 1980 until today. The issue where people seem to suggest that there is crisis in Zimbabwe, all indications on the ground is there is no crisis at all. All these external factors and external people, they are the ones that are saying there is crisis in Zimbabwe. The Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe, if you go on social media, on WhatsApp, on Twitter, on Facebook, people are jubilant. People are celebrating that at least we can create the Zimbabwe that we want. The issue is at this point in time among the generality of Zimbabweans. It's not so much about Mugabe, but it's about an opportunity in which we could start again, an opportunity in which the country can go again into the future. So what becomes, particularly to me, of interest is these external factors. I am beginning to think that all the crises that we've seen in Zimbabwe, maybe it really was not the problem in part of the government, of the Mugabe administration. There has been a lot of meddling. There are a lot of people, including SADC, I think, that have an interest to see Zimbabwe in crisis. Because I don't think, except maybe the 1980 elections, there has never been a transition as peaceful as what we are witnessing today. Nobody came. At all the times when people were being killed, where was violence, nobody made an issue. So the issue that we need to address at the moment is, can Zimbabweans be allowed to chart their own destiny? Can Zimbabweans be given an opportunity to decide what is best for them with the minimal interference from other people? And SADC, why can't they abide by their own philosophy of non-interference? So at this point in time, why do they want to interfere in the affairs of Zimbabwe? And then the whole ideology of saying that Mugabe is the one that is refusing to resign. If we look at it, and if I look at the images that I've seen of the former president in the last few weeks, last few months, the man is 93 years old. Surely, I think he deserves to rest. I think he deserves, to go on retirement, to join his family, because as we know, right now, some of the reports are saying the wife has left the country. He needs to be with his family. He needs to be with his wife. And it almost doesn't make sense to me that he is the one that is hanging on and saying that he does not want to go, he does not want to resign. There seems to be other forces at play, other forces that are saying that he is the one that should be in there. There are a lot of people that have interest in there, but the question is, what is the interest? Two things which the military did very well, and I think they need to be congratulated on terms of that one. They realized that we need legitimacy. We don't need any loss of life in this transition. And so far as we know, only two people, the two Israeli that were in the former finance minister's residence, they are the only ones that were killed, and it was a result of them opening fire on the military. Other than that, it's been peaceful. Reports and phone calls from Zimbabwe, everybody saying they are happy. They are ready to have a new beginning and a new start. So then the question is, these are the politicians and the international media. What crisis do they see that we don't see? When we as Zimbabweans saw a crisis, they did not see a crisis. Now today they are seeing a crisis, we Zimbabweans are not seeing a crisis. Are they saying that we Zimbabweans are so stupid? We Zimbabweans are so naive? We Zimbabweans cannot decide what we think is good for us? What exactly are they saying? We don't quite understand this position here. And we want to address, I think, the real issue is, please, SADC, can they give us an opportunity? And can they support us? And by us, I mean Zimbabweans, to chart a way forward in going into the future.
Very good.
Yes.
I think what we lack, Africans as a whole, is we do not still solve our own problems. Whenever we have problems, always external actors intervene.
But Prof, listen to this
Always.
one here.
Yeah.
The Zimbabwe problem was solved by Zimbabweans. The Zimbabwean military, these are Africans solving an African problem.
Yes.
And when we try to solve problems,
There's
interference.
That's what I'm
These
saying.
people are not giving us an opportunity to solve our own problems.
But that is a very important point.
Yes.
The right to make your own mistakes must be yours.
That's correct.
The right to make the mistakes, the wrong mistakes,
It must be
corrected
ours.
must be yours.
Yes.
Agency must be yours. It must be done. And hopefully also, all problems should be solved. There's no reason why we should go to war and killing.
Yes.
They could be solved with a dialogue culture. There could be debates, there could be arguments, and there could be solutions can be provided.
Yeah.
The problem we have, generally speaking in Africa, is we do not still have that agency. For whatever reason, every time you do it your own way, like interferences come. And there are ways by which these interferences come in ways you don't even know sometimes.
Correct.
So what we should do now is we should not repeat the mistake that have been done already. When a key transition, it's a time for transition. Zimbabwe will agree on this.
Yes.
But the transition must be done peacefully.
Oh, absolutely.
And completely without creating any instability for the country of Zimbabwe.
Yes.
We have to do it like that.
Yeah.
Almost everybody should agree on this.
Yeah.
Opposition parties, the president, the current president himself, everybody should agree that the people and the country come first, and not the interest of anyone. And on that agreement, there should be no negotiation. It must be a full agreement. If that happens, then a proper transition can be arranged. And for that, there should be no compromise.
In recent memory, the only time that I think all Zimbabweans rallied together and agreed on one aspect was when they were supporting the Zimbabwe national football team. I don't think they've agreed, even politicians. Today, all politicians, politicians in ZANU-PF, politicians in opposition parties, all of them agree that it is time for transition. And more importantly, the people, the general public in Zimbabwe agree it is time for transition. The military agrees it is time for transition. The war veterans agree it is time for transition. Zimbabweans in the diaspora agree it is time for transition. So it almost looks like we are again being pushed into a corner that Africans can only resolve their issues through war. They cannot resolve their issues in peace and in dialogue, because the military has shown so much restraint. The general of the command of the defense forces, he has shown extreme leadership, and how he has maintained order and how he has maintained discipline of the military. Now, it almost seems that somebody is coming and advising and ill-advising Mugabe to say, stay on power. What that simply does is it is pushing Mugabe and the military into conflict, because they already have printed headlines that there was a coup d'etat in Zimbabwe, and that's what they want. That's the outcome that these forces want, the outcome in Zimbabwe. Once that there is, they want to continue looting Zimbabwe. They want to continue harassing Zimbabweans. They want to continue disadvantaging Zimbabweans all over, because it serves their interest. That, I think, we should put an end to.
I think the most important message I pass to all the Zimbabweans,
yes,
is please do all you can to make sure that the transition is arranged peacefully, totally.
Yes.
There should be with debate and discussion. However long it takes, it's better to do it like that, with no one being killed. No person must be killed.
Yes.
If you do it like that, you can be an example. We have only very few examples of transitions.
Yes.
Kenneth Kaunda did it, Julius Nyerere did it, and Madiba did it. Madiba said being a president was like being in Robben Island again. So when I left, it's like being freedom. He got liberated. He's just beautifully expressed it.
Yes.
Now, all we need is, we have also leaders like Museveni, who said very intelligently, no African leader should stay more than 10 years. But now he himself is now staying over 30 years. I don't know why he did this. But
yes.
He should also, African leaders really must learn to be humble, to have integrity, to have sincerity, to have honesty and humility. They are extremely necessary in Africa. It's better to make proper transition where systems are organized, arranged, where institutions are strengthened, where governance is promoted, where leadership has quality. We need to have systematic transitions where these are reinforce each other, so that the people and the countries benefit. We should do it like that. The leaders who get into power must know how to get out. If they stay more than 10 years, it's 10 years, they can make the mistakes they want. After 10 years, they should leave. I think this thing for our I have a great respect for Robert Mugabe, but I think on the transition side, he could have arranged this much earlier, when he was not 93, but before, when he was 83 or something like that.
Yes.
If he had done it properly, then all these problems will not come. Now, what I appeal to the people of Zimbabwe, all of you, is make sure he is a great man in terms of for Africa. He stood up for Africa. He spoke for Africa, with Africa, in Africa, all his life. So we cannot, no matter what disagreement we have with him, we have to properly, respectfully put him. I hope he can play like the Queen of England, give him a position like that, and then make a proper transition. That way, then he gradually, historically, he goes nicely when he leaves this world. So please arrange it like that, so that and I appeal to all the people of Zimbabwe to really do it. If they don't do it like this, if the way goes like Gaddafi and other Sankara and all these other ways, then it is against us Africans, all of us. You are
Yes.
attacking all of us. I don't want us for you to be in that record, in that historical
Yes.
against our African people, because our African history has been always tampered with, and we need to have the agency to express it better. And now you have a great opportunity. This great challenge you have is also an opportunity for you
Oh, it is.
to bring us a lesson for all of us.
Usually so.
I
But,
hope
but
you could do
we,
it, yeah.
we now, I'm going to put my head on the chopping block here.
Yeah.
We are a bit worrisome as the people of Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
We are a bit worried about SADC. We are a bit worried about AU. We are a bit worried about all these external forces here. We have an opportunity to do good for ourselves. Because if the military wanted Mugabe dead, Mugabe by now he would be dead and buried. They would have shot him, they would have killed him, they would have done anything. And even all these government ministers, all of them would be dead, but they are not. So we are saying, please give us an opportunity to write our own history, give us an opportunity to allow His Excellency to have a peaceful and an honorable exit into history. I think the forces at play, they cannot stomach that. They cannot stomach Mugabe going out in history and leaving office peacefully. That's what they cannot stand. But he is our president. He has been our president for the last 37 years. And for that, we respect him dearly. We respect him so much. We want him to have his exit. But for now, he deserves to rest. He has done enough. Like in the words of Madiba, it was another prison. He himself spent 11 years in prison. Now, let us allow him to do that. And if these forces, please allow the man to rest. From now, I think we as Zimbabweans, we know what we want. We are qualified enough. We are experienced enough. And I think we are responsible enough to create a Zimbabwe for all. If those people think that once the new administration comes in, there won't be enough room for Zimbabweans, no, that's not true. Zimbabwe has always welcomed everybody. Black, white, Chinese, everyone has been in Zimbabwe. And once that happens, everybody would come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
That's very good. But I hope you'll express emotional intelligence,
Yes.
moral intelligence, and psychological intelligence.
I think it has already been expressed, Prof.
to make sure that the transition is managed properly, and that all of you agree on what process should be
in principle, I think it has been done.
And if this is, well, let's see, because there's a lot of media coverage which I don't understand. Some of it is very scary.
Yes,
some of it is says
fake news.
What you're saying.
Yeah.
And so there's so many things being said.
Yes.
So it's not clear. But my main point is to appeal to the people of Zimbabwe not to make the historical mistake that people made in Libya and Burkina Faso and all these other places in the rest of Africa.
Yeah.
And I think from this, also from your leader now, having been there for many years, I think what we could learn is that almost all African leaders must learn how to arrange the best transition. What Africa lacks is consistent systems,
That's it.
predictable systems, sustainable systems,
Yes.
institutions, and governance,
Yeah.
and leadership. We suffer from the curses of leadership: governance curse, leadership curse, institution curse, system curse. We have to resolve it for the last time. It should be everywhere, across Africa.
Yeah.
And in fact, I hope by someday, as Mwalimu Nyerere said, why do we have all these national anthems, national flags, permanent seats in all these United Nations places? Why we continue to balkanize Africa? Why not we unite Africa, create a sustainable, integrated African economy? At this